All right, get ready, because we're about to explore something awesome. It's a Cardano blockchain gaming tournament. We're talking about Doom.
Ah,
Dude, that classic first-person shooter, the game that basically invented demon slaying in all its pixelated glory. And get this, it starts December 3rd with a prize pool of $100,000.
wow.
Now, what's really cool is that it's not just about playing Doom.
Oh,
It's about the Cardano community actually getting involved
how so?
in building the game experience.
Well, we're not just players, we're potential level designers.
Yep, signing up.
Exactly. Anyone can submit custom assets.
Like what?
Think Cardano-themed weapons, monsters, even tweaking the messages that pop up in the game.
Wait, hold on. You're saying our creations could end up in the official tournament map?
Absolutely. Input Output Global IOG, the company behind Cardano. They'll be handpicking the best submissions to include in the final map. And the best part is that final version will be released publicly for everyone to download and play, even if they don't participate in the tournament.
So even if I don't, frag my way to the top. My custom Cardano demon could still become a legendary part of the tournament.
You got it. Think of it as leaving your creative park on the Cardano Doom universe.
Okay, color me intrigued. But where do we even begin? This sounds like a glorious, but potentially chaotic, creative free-for-all.
No worries. They've got us covered. There's a document called Custom Map Submission-Guidelines.pdf.
Okay.
Think of it as our treasure map for navigating this whole process.
Excellent. You know me, always a fan of a good set of instructions. Yeah. So hit me with the highlights. What are the absolute must-knows?
First and foremost, the submission rules. Content has to be original or properly licensed.
Of course, that makes sense.
And no illegal or inappropriate content either.
Right.
Got to keep things fun and family-friendly.
Right. So no Cardano-themed, questionable content. Got it. What else?
This is super important. Everything submitted has to fit the overall Doom theme.
Okay, so probably no rainbows and unicorns then.
Not quite the vibe, no. We're talking demons. Darkness. That gritty, gothic feel. Imagine what would feel authentically Doom, but with a Cardano twist.
I can already see the possibilities. What about the technical side of things?
Here's where it gets interesting. The tournament is going to be running on something called Chocolate Doom. It's a specific engine that actually uses smaller file resolutions than later versions of Doom.
So anyone creating art assets, this is crucial information.
Right. Absolutely. We're talking pixel art, folks.
Right.
Lower resolution. But that doesn't mean it can't be. Incredibly detailed and creative.
Right.
Think old school gaming charm.
I'm all about that retro aesthetic. So what are we building on? Is there like a starting point for all of this?
Yes. It all begins with freedoom2.wad.
Okay.
A base file that's freely available for download. The guidelines actually encourage everyone to grab this and start experimenting.
Perfect. Download links will be in the show notes
Yeah.
for everyone listening. What else do we need on the technical side?
The guidelines assume you'll be using a specific program for editing these files. It's called Slade 3. It's a WAD editor. You can use other tools, but Slade 3 seems to be the recommended choice.
Got it. Slade 3 check. Now, I'm a visual learner. Give me some concrete examples to get those creative juices flowing.
You're in luck. The guidelines actually have some great examples of the kinds of assets you can submit.
Okay, let's hear them.
First up, custom wall textures. Imagine taking a section of wall in a Doom level and replacing it with, say, a giant Cardano logo.
Well, that's thinking big.
Keep in mind, there are size limitations, 64 by 128 pixels or 128 by 128 pixels. So pixel art skills are definitely going to come in handy.
That seems manageable, even for someone with my, let's call it developing artistic talent. What else have we got?
How about replacing in-game pickups? Instead of a health pack, you could have a stake pool that boosts your armor.
I love it. So we can actually mess with the game mechanics a little.
For sure. And this could involve replacing static images like the health pack icon, or even creating custom animations.
Okay, now we're talking. This one's going on my list. What other cool things could we tinker with?
Weapon replacements. Now, this one is for the hardcore Doom modders out there.
Why is that?
Replacing a weapon means creating new sprites for everything. The weapon on the ground, in the player's hand, the firing animation, reloading animation, even the projectile if it's a rocket launcher or something.
Wow, that's a lot of work. But I can only imagine how satisfying it would be to see your custom weapon in action.
Absolutely. It's about leaving your fingerprint on the game world. The possibilities are really endless. Think a Cardano-themed plasma rifle blasting demons.
Okay, I'm officially inspired. More examples, please. What else can we do?
How about custom monster sprites? Imagine a Cardano-themed monster roaming the map, terrorizing players.
Okay, that's definitely going on my to-do list.
Yeah.
What are the technical details on that one?
You'd need to create animations from 8 different angles. Remember, Doom monsters can move in all directions, and don't forget the sound effects.
Okay, this is serious business,
Okay.
but totally doable with the right guidance, right?
Exactly. The guidelines have a whole section on creating monster sprites. Understanding Doom's animation system is key, but they break down the steps pretty well.
Awesome. Okay, hit me with one last example before we move on.
This one's pretty cool, replacing in-game strings.
Strings. What do you mean by that?
You can actually change the messages that pop up on the screen when you pick up a power-up. Instead of invulnerability, it could say something like staking power-up or something Cardano-related.
I love that. It's all about those little details that really make the experience unique.
Exactly. Now, this one involves creating something called a dehacked patch, which might sound intimidating, but the guidelines actually break down the steps. It's more manageable than you might think.
So we've got wall textures, power-ups, weapons, monsters, even custom messages. I think we've covered the basics of Doom modding.
Almost. There's one more critical detail we need to talk about. Doom's palette.
Doom's palette. Why is that so important?
Well, Doom uses a limited palette of 256 colors. Any art you import into the game must be converted to this palette.
Ah, I see where you're going with this. That could drastically change how an image looks. Right?
Exactly. Colors might get mapped to the closest match in the Doom palette, and that could lead to some unexpected results.
So what's the solution? Do we need to become, like, color theory experts?
Not necessarily. The guidelines recommend creating art directly using the Doom palette right from the start.
Makes sense. But how do we even get the Doom palette into our art program?
Easy. You can actually export the Doom palette from Slate 3. The guidelines explain exactly how to do that.
Problem solved.
Okay.
Hey, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. We've got the basics of the tournament, the submission guidelines, and some seriously cool examples. I'm feeling inspired. But now I need to know, how do we actually make these things? Stay tuned, because after a quick break, we're diving even deeper into the world of Doom modding.
Welcome back. I hope you're ready to roll up your sleeves and get into the nitty-gritty of Doom modding. Because we're about to crack open that treasure map, those submission guidelines, and see what gems we can uncover.
I'm all fired up and ready to mod. So where do we start?
Well, remember how we talked about all those different types of assets you can create? Wall textures, weapons, even those fun little message replacements. The guidelines actually walk you through the steps for making each of those things.
Okay, that sounds incredibly helpful. Can we break it down?
Sure.
Let's start with those custom wall textures. What's the process like?
Well, the guidelines, they take you through the whole journey from creating a new DoomWad archive in Slate 3 to importing your texture file. They even explain how to convert your image to the right format that Doom understands.
So they're basically holding our hands through all the technical stuff. I like it.
Exactly. They don't assume you're already a Doom modding guru.
Well, that's great, because I'm most definitely not a guru. Speaking of things that sound intimidating, what about animated sprite replacements? You mentioned that earlier, and it sounded pretty complex.
It can be, but the guidelines make it way easier. They show you how to find the sprite you want to replace in the original Doom files, export it, make your edits, and then import it back into your custom WAD file.
So we're basically hijacking existing sprites and giving them a Cardano makeover.
That's a fantastic way to put it. And the guidelines even explain how to add these special markers, start and send, that are essential for making sure your animated sprites work the way they're supposed to.
Markers are key. Got it. What about replacing those in-game messages? That sounded like a really fun way to inject some Cardano personality into the game.
Oh, absolutely. And the guidelines walk you through creating something called a dehacked patch, which is basically a file that modifies the original game's code.
Okay.
They even recommend a specific tool called Wacked for making those patches.
Okay, I'm writing this down. Wacked, check. This is starting to feel like I could actually do this.
That's the spirit. And remember, the Doom modding community is incredibly helpful. There are tons of resources online, and people are always happy to answer questions. You're not alone on this journey.
That's so reassuring to hear. Okay, so we've talked about wall textures, sprites, and messages. What other parts of the game can we customize?
Well, we touched on weapon replacements earlier, and the guidelines go into detail about creating new sprites for all the different parts of a weapon.
Okay.
The pickup sprite, the view when it's in your hand, the firing animation, reloading, even the projectiles themselves.
Whoa, that sounds like a lot of work. But I bet it's super satisfying to see your own custom weapon in action, blasting away those demons.
Oh, for sure. It's like leaving your own personal stamp on the game world. And the guidelines have some great tips for making sure your animations look smooth and authentic.
Okay, I'm adding weapon replacement to my list of potential projects. Now, what about those custom Cardano monsters? Those sounded seriously epic.
Right. The guidelines have a whole section on creating monster sprites, and they explain how to make animations from 8 different angles. Because remember, Doom monsters can move in all directions. They even cover adding sound effects to really bring those creatures to life.
I'm sensing a theme here. The guidelines are our best friend.
Absolutely. Think of them as the Doom modding Bible, guiding us every step of the way.
Love it. Okay, so we've covered pretty much every type of asset we can create.
Yeah.
But what about that Doom palette thing we talked about earlier? I'm still a little fuzzy on the details.
Right. So remember that Doom uses a limited palette of 256 colors. Any art you bring into the game has to be converted to this palette, which can sometimes cause some funky color shifts.
Yeah, you showed that example earlier, and it was kind of wild how different the colors looked after the conversion.
Exactly. So the guidelines strongly suggest that you create your art using the Doom palette right from the get-go to avoid those problems.
Okay.
And remember, you can export that palette from Slade 3 and use it in your art program.
Got it. Designed with the Doom palette in mind. And you'll save yourself a lot of headaches later on.
Exactly. Now, I know this might feel like a lot of information to process, but the key is to take it one step at a time.
Right.
Choose one type of asset you want to create. Dive into the relevant section of the guidelines and just start experimenting.
Great advice. And don't forget, the Doom modding community is incredibly supportive. Don't be afraid to ask questions or look for help online.
Couldn't agree more. This is a community effort, and everyone's contributions are valuable.
Okay, I think we've covered
Yeah.
all the essentials of Doom modding. For this Cardano tournament, I'm feeling inspired and ready to get creative. But before we wrap up, you mentioned something earlier about the bigger picture, the potential implications of all of this. What did you mean?
Well, imagine this Cardano Doom Tournament as a kind of prototype, a glimpse into the future of blockchain-based gaming,
Okay.
where players have a direct hand in shaping the game world. What if this becomes the norm?
Whoa, that's a mind-blowing thought. But I love it. It takes the concept of community involvement to a whole new level.
Right. It's not just about playing a game anymore. It's about actively contributing to its evolution. And that's the incredible power of blockchain technology. It opens up all these possibilities for collaboration and creativity.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. This is so much bigger than just a Doom tournament. It's a window into the future of gaming.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe the innovations that come out of this Cardano Doom Tournament will inspire even more incredible blockchain games down the road.
So to everyone listening out there, this is your chance to be a part of something truly groundbreaking. Don't just play the game. Help build it.
Head over to the Cardano website, download those resources we talked about, and get those creative juices flowing. You never know, your creation could become a legendary part of this tournament and maybe even inspire the future of gaming.
Yeah, I am so on board with this whole future of gaming thing. But for now, let's bring it back to the Cardano Doom Tournament. It's right around the corner. We've got a world to build.
Exactly.
You've heard all the details, how the tournament works, what the submission guidelines are. We've even sparked some inspiration with those cool examples. Now it's time to take action.
Yes.
It's time for everyone listening to unleash their inner Doom modder.
Head over to the Cardano website, download everything you need, and get creative.
And remember, don't let the technical stuff intimidate you. The Doom modding community is incredibly supportive.
Oh, yeah.
There are tons of tutorials online, forums where you can ask questions, people who are genuinely excited to help newcomers.
It's true. You're not on this journey alone. Reach out, ask for help, and learn from others. That's what community is all about.
Who knows? Maybe your creation will become a legendary part of this tournament. Maybe it'll be the weapon that takes down the champion, or a monster that haunts everyone's dreams, or even a message that becomes a meme.
And even if your creation doesn't make it into the final map, you'll have gained valuable skills and experience. Plus, you'll have contributed to something truly unique and innovative.
So to wrap things up, what are you waiting for? Dive into the world of Doom modding. Get those creative juices flowing. And let's make this Cardano tournament something truly unforgettable.
It's a chance to be a part of history, to shape the future of gaming, and to show the world what the Cardano community is capable of. Good luck, everyone.